Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It is Francesco here, and in today's video we are doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at something that Asana released. Asana released a report which I believe they've been doing yearly called The Anatomy of Work, and it looks into how people spend their time at work. Now, I normally get this report and normally download one that's similar in the marketing space and also one that's in the productivity space. And what I try and do is try and pick out things that I think are really interesting. And what I want to do today is talk through a couple of those facts. So if you want to jump to a certain section, we're going to break this down into different categories, like productivity, wellness, and things like that in the workspace. So hopefully you'll maybe learn something, and it gives you a better idea, I guess, because when you're at work, you're busy, and you're going to be carried away with a few things. It might give you a look at the way that you spend your own time. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into today's video. Okay guys, I have a few of the facts and information that I've snippeted out, handpicked myself out of this, and they did state in this research that in August and September 2019, the quantitative and qualitative research was conducted by Sapio Research on behalf of Asana. They looked at 10,000 plus knowledge workers in a variety of countries. I believe they were UK, US, Germany, Japan, New Zealand, and Australia. Okay guys, let's take a look at this report. I'll include it in the link in the description. This isn't sponsored by Asana or anything. I just thought it'd be interesting to dive into this topic, especially from some of the research that they produced. So looking at the wellness category first, it states that nearly 80% of workers in Germany start their working days before 8:30. Now, I wasn't shocked at this statistic because the Germans are known for their timekeeping skills. So again, this is something that is really dependent on the person. A lot of people tend to try and finish their days exactly on time. So, this is really dependent. I knew that a lot of people like to start like 15 minutes before 8:30 because they get the ball rolling to then start work at 8:30. So again, this fact didn't shock me massively. 35% of global knowledge workers take one or fewer breaks per day. Now, I was shocked at this because 35% of people, that's like a solid third of the office, take one or fewer breaks a day. Like, that seems to be really low. Of course, the sort of big break in the day will be lunch, but actually just taking one extra break than lunch doesn't seem like an effective use of time. And I definitely think that if a third of them are only taking that because maybe there's pressure from, staff that necessarily maybe putting pressure on them not to take breaks because they need to do stuff. But actually breaks are a really good opportunity for you to just de-stress and then go back to the task a bit fresher. I used to didn't take breaks and it didn't work out. I was not taking breaks in my job at the start of the year when I had an internship for a year, and I was finding that my productivity was less. And then I took these sort of planned and organized breaks. I'd spend more time at lunch chatting with people, and my productivity got better and better. So I was actually shocked that a third of people take one or fewer breaks. So in Japan, apparently the government has introduced a legal cap to prevent people from working more than 45 hours of overtime per month. Now, I think this is a really good initiative and something that the UK and the US should definitely look to implement, because working hours really don't mean anything if you don't get the end result done. I guess it's working smarter, not necessarily longer or anything harder, because I think you definitely need to just make sure you're dedicating your time intentionally. I'm taking a really good course at the moment called Focus Course by Sean Blanc. It's all about making more intentional decisions in the workplace, and I think we should definitely follow Japan's lead on the overtime side of stuff. I know in the UK that there's a lot of conversation in New Zealand about the 4-work week sort of conversation floating around, and whilst that's good, I think it's important to also cap the overtime abilities of people, because people will always look to overwork themselves, and I'm learning definitely, and I learned from my mistakes, that overworking is possibly not such a good idea. Many factors led to a stressful office environment. The biggest drivers of stress amongst survey respondents include 26% saying there was... Oh, that was the postman. Oh. 26% saying too much work. 16% saying lack of support or management. 15% unclear, saying lack of unclear tasks or priority. And unrealistic deadlines. 15%. So I definitely think that's a little bit of a pain. Like, I think I wasn't shocked at the first driver for stress, too much work, because everyone feels like there's too much work on. And I feel like a quarter of the audience saying that is natural. But I'm more shocked at the lack of support or management, because a lot of people like to be self-managed. So self-managing yourself is probably a good way to sort of look to address that problem, just because self-managing yourself will only not just work really well in the workplace, but it also helps you to work at home, of course, like be able to self-manage your house and things like that. I was also shocked at the unclear tasks and priorities. Obviously, unclear tasks and priorities can be a real sort of bottleneck to your productivity. Talking of bottlenecks, let's move on to the next bit of statistics. One of the stats was about not leaving the office past a certain time. I will include the specific question that they asked, and 41% of people said that emails were the issue because of the sort of constant barrage of emails coming in. 36% unexpected meetings, and 34% was based on approval. So obviously those bottom two are based on other people, like your colleagues and the maybe clients or other people outside of the business, externalities, obviously changing and maneuvering what that matters, whether a meeting pops up at the very last minute to being a bottleneck, and also like the fact that you may need to get approval on certain things, pushes you past the time that you're meant to work. But email, I am quite shocked at. I think definitely people who are really struggling with email and haven't touched on the inbox zero concept in being able to batch their email attacks really is one of the best things that I'd recommend. There's also a really nifty app that I've been using for about 9 months now, which is called SaneBox. They've been a sponsor here on the channel, full disclosure, but I definitely recommend checking them out because they do help to reduce the unnecessary email coming into your inbox and sort of fine tune it. And 41% of people saying they stay late because of email. Like, if you're able to reduce that and get out on time, that's a massive improvement in your day. Let's move on to work success. People said on average, global workers report spending 70% of their day feeling productive. Like, that's a really good stat. Like, I was actually shocked at that from the report. A lot of the time, I think people normally say today wasn't a productive day, like 30%, I would say. So yeah, maybe 70-30. But what I mean is, like, a lot more people I thought would say, a lot less people I thought would say that they feel productive at the end of the day. So that's really good to hear. So time spent feeling distracted, procrastinating on a global basis was 1 hour and 4 seconds. I believe the UK got the highest amount, which I can probably imagine. Like, I notice I procrastinate a lot during the day, but I guess it comes back to that planned procrastination. Sometimes that's good for self-management. But again, procrastination, I feel like these numbers could be brought down with a lot of different methodologies. But here we go. The final stat is the average time spent each week on duplication of tasks. And this was really, really interesting. It's the act of doing something twice or doing something thrice or many multiple times is, for example, could be writing up the meeting agenda. It could be sending out the meeting information that you've maybe done for a weekly meeting. The duplication of tasks apparently took up over 4 hours, 30 minutes, which I think is crazy. Like, globally, that's a lot of time wasted on duplication of tasks. I'm looking recently at where I'm doing like small processes. For example, an email, like if I'm sending an email that has a specific list of items or specific list of stacks, I'm now creating responses in Missive to quickly send that on, so I don't have to duplicate or rewrite emails, and I can do that on mobile. I'm like, bang bang, it's done. And that's what Superhuman as well are pointing a lot towards, being able to implement these automations or like faster automations to be able to send stuff over. So guys, this is really a totally new video for me, so please do let me know what you think in the comments below if you have any stat facts that were shocked there, or whether you think this feature was totally useless and you don't want to see it here on the channel again. let me know, because I don't know whether this was this is a bit of a bet. But you can download the report below. I only picked about 7 or 8 sort of key facts and information that I thought was interesting. But there's so much more, so you can check it out. Again, this wasn't sponsored by Asana. I just thought it would be cool because it's something I take a look at. And I'm out of touch with the workplace as well because I didn't work in an office. So it's really useful for me to know like what's really going on in an office situation more and more. Although I obviously do try and look into as many sort of working situations as possible. So guys, I appreciate you stopping by today. Please do give the channel a subscribe and like the video if you found it useful, and share it out on social media if you think this report might be valuable for other people. But anyway guys, a big thank you, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Cheers everyone.